Leslie Sadowski Fugit is a Downers Grove Village board member. Actually, we've got audio of an early Leslie Sadowski Fugit before she rose to prominence in Downers Grove. This was back when she was on a college campus.
You eat pigs! You pig motherfuckers! You pig motherfuckers!
Where would you get that? Wow.
That's that was actually Fordham University students when they were told the reaction of a delicate little flower at Fordham reacting to the news that they were going to be arrested if they were part of the encampment at Fordham. But I mean, it might as well have been Leslie Sadowski Fugit because the that delicate flower that you just heard will grow up to be obnoxious, intolerable, ghoulish village board member somewhere, I have no doubt. Probably in Illinois. Okay. Leslie Sadowski Fugit is the ringleader on the village board who ousted a library board trustee named Bill Neinburg. And, of course, the entire government in Downers Grove, like most of DuPage County, has been completely turned over to Marxists. I mean, there's a few exceptions on the board, and I'm sure in town, but they're outnumbered. And a lot of those exceptions who are outnumbered are sitting around scratching their heads. How did this happen? Leslie Sadowski Fugit, just to give you the flavor here, from calling police MFing pigs and crying about let me out because it's finals time, like you saw at Columbia, and running around in keffiyehs and hoisting the Palestinian flag, and all the other things a young, rambunctious Marxist will do before they run for local office. And then they got all polished up. But it's the same rap. It's just presented in a less repulsive package.
I will simply state that there is ample evidence to support that Trustee Neinburg has not acted in the best interests of the Downers Grove Public Library, and in some cases disparaged marginalized populations and minimized their harassment by board meeting attendees. He consistently comes to meetings of those which he attends unprepared. This goes against the bylaws and creates an unsafe work environment for staff and fellow trustees. Coaching and conversations have been offered from my understanding. In my case, after I was supposed to meet with him and my daughter ended up sick, so I had to cancel a coffee because I had to stay home with her from school. Despite reaching out to reschedule that offer, I was never taken up on it again. I know I'm not the only one who had that happen, and
Let me tell you something.
What?
If a Marxist wants to reschedule coffee, then you will reschedule the coffee.
I mean, then she throws her kid under the bus. Stop with the sick kid excuses. Ladies, it doesn't work.
I have a question. Let's just say for the sake of argument that Bill Neinburg was unprepared for a board meeting, just for the sake of argument. How does that make somebody unsafe? A library board trustee was unprepared for a meeting. Somebody's life was jeopardized by that?
I know.
How?
It's a
Explain.
Big reach.
But he was prepared enough to marginalize already marginalized communities. She continues. I mean, she's just a joy.
because this has nothing to do with political affiliations and everything to deal
Come on, please,
with
folks, come on.
dangerous extremism that is taking hold not just here in Downers Grove or the western suburbs, but the entire state.
Dangerous extremism. It's not about politics. And then the proper close for one of these neo-Jacobins is a little bit of a lecture about how you could be a little bit better. Like her. Live the golden rule. And reschedule your coffees.
My request to everyone out there is to take some time to reflect on these behaviors, like yelling out at your, fellow residents. Are you treating others with the respect that you want to be treated? Have you had those one-on-one conversations with people that make you uncomfortable? Or do you simply...
Did you reschedule the coffee? God bless you, Neinburg. Does she just sit at the local Starbucks and just exclaim Neinburg's name like Ricardo Montalban in Wrath of Khan? What a silly, ridiculous person. And she's in charge of Downers Grove, effectively. Way to go, Downers Grove.
Yippee.
For more on this, updating the situation, apparently Bill Neinburg has not been thrown in Downers Grove prison yet for his crimes against marginalized communities, or maybe he's making a collect call from from the library's prison. I'm not sure, but he joins us now. Bill Neinburg, former Downers Grove library trustee, now the head of a shadow organization of extremists called the Downers Grove Library Distrustees. Bill, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a fugitive from justice. I'm calling.
Are you?
Undisclosed location.
Bill, the question.
How's it going, Bill?
I didn't feel like we got a straight answer from you last time, and this is a time where we need to heal. Could you explain why you didn't reschedule the coffee?
I can't. I'm gonna get some therapy and explore my feelings and try to make amends for the coffee gate.
Well, it's those kind of snide remarks that make people feel unsafe, Bill. I just have to tell you that she's trying to build a community of love, and here you are. So give us the latest. Give us the latest on. You said you'd continue this fight even after you had the trustees intimidated. Well, 4 of them at least intimidated enough by Fugit to oust you. So what do things look like after that village board meeting from a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, we're putting some things together, and we'll have some announcements in the coming week. But I wanted to get on the show this morning and update you with the latest of the library antics. Before I go into that, you had mentioned before that Downers Grove was outnumbered on the village board. It's partially outnumbered. There's 3 known progressives on the village council, and then partially betrayed, and I'm speaking about Commissioner Mike Davenport, who was elected with some conservative support and should never, ever again enjoy the support of conservatives in Downers Grove or DuPage County. Okay. So they were outnumbered by known progressives and one betrayal of his voters. The library had their latest circus board meeting last week. It was cut short at 45 minutes because one of the trustees had to leave early, and another of the trustees was out of town. Now, if you recall, this is one of my cardinal sins that got the pitchfork crowd all fired up, that I missed something like 4 or 5 meetings over 2 years. But now it's apparently okay. So they had to cut the meeting short. They did get to public comments.
That board trustee who had to leave, was that to go to coffee with Leslie Sadowski-Fugit by any chance?
No, but it was the board trustee that revealed the status of my library card at
are you serious?
Blindside meeting. No, it was her. More to come on that in a minute.
Yeah.
So they
papers.
held the public.
Yeah.
Right. They held public comments, but then in the middle of one of the public commenters, one of the trustees interrupted, and called for a recess, and they recessed for 5 minutes. So in a cut short meeting, they cut short the public comments, and they did this for the sin of addressing the library director directly during the comments. Okay. So the board president, Swapna Jagani, makes up rules willy-nilly for public comments and conducts the meeting not according to Robert's Rules of Order, but Swapna's Rules of Disorder, and cut the meeting in the middle of public comments. They went to a 5-minute recess to collect themselves and allow their pearl clutching, and then they came back and continued public comments, went to the end of the meeting, and cut the meeting short at 45 minutes. This would all be funny if it wasn't for the fact that the library is one of the largest items on the Downers Grove tax bill. And in the past year, they raised the tax levy by 4%. In the past 5 years, we've gone from a budget of in the low $5 million to over $6 million, approaching $6.5 million. And that's in a state that ranks, I think I saw the Illinois Policy Journal put out the other day, 42nd out of 50 in terms of property taxes. So these are not funny issues.
No. We're
councils
We're 50 out of 50. We're number one in the country when it comes to the highest property taxes. But did the extra $1.5 million go to buy another, I don't know, 100,000 copies of Genderqueer, or what's the money being spent on?
Potentially, because that was one of the reasons I got on the board. I wanted to see some innovation to keep the libraries relevant. And their idea of innovation is more progressive policies for their staff and book banning on behalf of progressive and activist causes. So the trustee that motioned for the recess was Marty Sladak. And if you recall, one of the items in my library censure was related to a post that I made on X about book banning. Sladak has made a similar post recently and attributed all of the protestations about the library to lies told by white Christian nationalists. And in her profile description, she names herself as a Downers Grove Board of Trustee member. So I guess that conflict of interest also doesn't apply. There's been apparently some reform in the standards for trustees since I was dismissed. My posting... Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My posting back in December was about this book banning matter. And you guys probably remember last June there was a House bill passed that required libraries to take a stand against book banning, bend the knee to the American Library Association's Library Bill of Rights, or risk losing state funding. Now, if the issue of having to bend the knee to a non-elected bureaucratic organization run by a self-avowed Marxist isn't disturbing enough, the book banning that actually happens, because this is a totally manufactured crisis in 2 years, there was no book banning at the Downers Grove Library. The book banning that does happen is administered by the library staff under the guise of selection guidelines.
Yeah, I saw that you on social media that you proposed, or somebody proposed, like including James Lindsay's book, and when it came to the issue of culture and gender identity politics, and which is good. That's what we always talk about. You know, go ahead, you have your genderqueer, but now let's include Abigail Schreier, let's include James Lindsay, let's include some other books too, so we have the full range of opinion on a particular topic or approach on a particular topic. And that was denied, of course, because they're not book banners.
As was Abigail Schreier's book, the book about gender-altering surgeries.
Right.
Both of those were denied within the last year, and the library cited selection standards and misinformation and attributed truth to the American Psychology Association and used that as a reason to decline. I suppose
the CAST report that came out of the National Health Service in the UK recently, that's something else that would not be available in the Downers Grove Library for the same reason.
No, but you make a good point. These are not settled matters, right? This is not settled science. There's still many questions around why has transgenderism doubled in the last 5 years. There are many countries outside of the United States that are banning these gender-altering surgeries. This is not a settled matter, and you think a library that was so devoted to the truth and objectivity and presenting all the sides of a matter would allow both sides of the matter to have a presence in their library, but they routinely turn these down based on their progressive ideologies. So Abigail Schreier's book, Irreversible Damage, these are not fly-by-night books. I think it was a top
New York Times bestseller.
Yeah. It was a New York Times bestseller. It was ranked as one of the top 10 books of the year by The Economist in 2021. These books regularly appear in the bestseller list on Amazon. These are not like obscure books, and they deserve to be in our stacks, but they get turned down routinely because of, favoritism towards one side of the ideological spectrum.
What's the fallout in Downers Grove, if any, from this imbroglio? I mean, we had a bunch of residents that attended that meeting where you were voted out, expressed support for you and opposition to the Leslie Sadowski Fugits of the world. But one gets the feeling that Leslie Sadowski Fugit and her coven feel fairly invulnerable, and there's probably good reason they do. So I'm just wondering if there's anything surprising that has occurred in the last couple of weeks since this went down.
I guess the one thing that I would point to is the fact that the silent majority is alive and well. The amount of support that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks is incredible. I've had people walk up to me in church and on the streets and in the neighborhood and express support and outrage and sympathy for what's happened. So I hope that, and we talked about this last time, that this is going to wake some people up, and that will play out at the polling place.
What about online? I mean, I'm reading these vile comments people were making about you. Is it still going strong here? I mean, one later, you obviously don't like women in power and have a caustic personality. This is your last warning? What is that?
Yeah, well, in that same post, he said, think about your family. This is your last warning. So I've listened to 2 years of unsubstantiated rumors about threats to the library board without any shred of evidence. Well, this was evidence, and we went to the police department, filed a police report, and this week I signed a criminal complaint for criminal disorderly conduct. And we know who the individual is, and we're going to attempt to prosecute this.
Good.
I noted, we talked about this last week. Downers Grove Public Library has its story time coming up. It's June 7th. Storytime and craft making event that will teach the virtues of homosexuality to children aged 2 to 6. It's a part of the library's Discovery. It's located, advertised in the Discovery's newsletter that's mailed to taxpayers at their expense. Stop by to make a rainbow craft celebrating Pride Month. Preschoolers must be directly supervised by an adult. It's available to the first 100 crafters. I'm sure it's already oversubscribed by Leslie Sadowski Fugit and her coven. But, so those are the kinds of events that the library doesn't have to worry about you making a ruckus and perhaps making the environment unsafe.
I mean, that's one, like most things like this, they wrap it in innocuous do-goodism about making people feel welcome. But it's the age appropriateness that's the issue here.
Right.
2 to 6-year-olds don't think like this. This is not done for the benefit of 2 to 6-year-olds. It's done for the benefit of the adults, and the adults that either
46-year-old Marxists. Yes, right.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I know I've got some friends and little birdies in Downers Grove. So let me see if you're open to this, because I'm still a little bit sideways on this coffee that you failed to reschedule. I know Leslie Sadowski Fugit and her coven like to guzzle Chardonnay. They are Chardonnay Antifa at the Cellar Door wine bar. What if I brokered a Chardonnay summit between you and Leslie Sadowski Fugit? Very much in the Obama beer summit style. Is that something you'd be amenable to?
That'd be great. I'm always open to dialogue. I think that'd be great. I'm more of a Sauv Blanc guy than the Chardonnay.
Oh,
but
okay.
Okay. All right, sure. Yeah. I mean, we'll accommodate. Anything for peace in Downers Grove.
Right.
All right. Let me work on that, and I'll get back to you, Bill Neinburg. Thanks so much for joining us. Former Downers Grove. Yes. Go ahead.
Do you guys have one more second? Because I'm going to break some news on your show.
Oh,
sure.
Please.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Please.
So one of the things that was discussed at my censure meeting was my library card status. And we thought that this was a violation of the Library Records Confidentiality Act. And so we FOIA'd the library, and we asked for the names of all the library card holders. And to our surprise, they gave it to us. 28,000 plus names of library card holders were released by the Downers Grove Library. We made the same FOIA request to 5 other area libraries and were denied each time. And then we appealed those FOIA denials and got a ruling from the Attorney General yesterday that confirmed that it is indeed a violation of the Library Records Confidentiality Act to release the names of library card holders. And one of the libraries, and you can't even make this stuff up, cited that they conferred with their legal counsel before they denied our request, and it is the exact same law firm that is employed by the Downers Grove Public Library, who lied about also conferring with their legal counsel.
We got to go, but thanks so much, Bill. I hope they go to library prison. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
This is a Fox News